So I first want to say thanks to the GAPNA nominating committee. We've been led well by Kimberly Posey, and then I myself will be stepping in as chair next year. And Kayla Blakely, thank you so much for all your help and support. It's been a great group of gals to run with the G theme. And we've worked really hard to hopefully give you guys some ideas on why to run for the board, why it's so great, why we want you to come. And hopefully it'll just motivate you, and you'll find this, even though it's not in person, something fun to do this evening. So if you're interested, it's a great considered volunteering. We do have the form here on the link, and we can provide that. It's on the website as well. We have available positions in 21 to 2022. We have the president-elect, which is a 3-year commitment, the treasurer, which is 2 years, director at large, and then the nominating committee will have 2 positions. So come hang out with me available. So our speakers this evening, we're really excited to have such an amazing group of women come and just let us know why they joined the board, why they ran for their positions, and what they've learned from their time on the board. So Natalie Baker is an associate professor at the University of Alabama at Birmingham School of Nursing. She has practiced as a nurse practitioner since 1990, almost exclusively within the long-term care arena. She is an advocate for the rights of vulnerable older adults and has championed changes in care delivery in nursing homes. She was inducted as a fellow by the American Association of Nurse Practitioners for her outstanding contributions to nurse practitioner education and health policy. In 2018, she was recognized as a distinguished educator in gerontological nursing by the National Hartford Center of Gerontological Nursing Excellence. The Alabama State Nurses Association presented her with the Sindago Overton Outstanding Nurse Educator Award in 2020. Natalie has served on GAPNA's board of directors for 5 years, 4 as the secretary, and she is our current president-elect. She has represented GAPNA at numerous national forums. She was an item writer for the APRN Gerontological Specialist Certification and is a regular contributor to the Gerontology resources for APRN preceptors and students toolkit, located on the GAPNA website. And I strongly encourage you guys to go look at that toolkit. It's a great resource. Dr. Pam Cascione is the Ralston House Term Chair in Gerontological Nursing and Associate Professor of Geropsychiatric Nursing. Dr. Cascione is a clinical expert in adaptations for persons with vision and hearing impairment and robotics. She developed the Nursing Intervention Individualized Sensory Enhancement for the Elderly, also called IC, following her NINR-funded study, Nursing Interventions for Sensory Impaired Long-Term Care Elders. Dr. Cascione completed her BSN at Villanova, her MSN from Marymount, and her PhD from St. Louis University, and a postdoctorate in gerontological intervention research at the University of Iowa. She is the past president of GAPNA in 2015. She has also served as program planning chair for the annual meeting and the first pharmacology meeting. Jennifer Kim is a professor of nursing at Vanderbilt School of Nursing. She's been a GAPNA member since 2002 and started the Middle Tennessee chapter in 2007. She has served on GAPNA's Health Affairs Committee and as a mentor for GAPNA's Leadership Institute. Jenny was elected as GAPNA's treasurer in 2018, and we loved her so much, we re-elected her for a second term, which she is currently serving. And last but not least, our panel is rounded out by the wonderful Lancine Taylor, who is a gerontological nurse practitioner employed at the Bill Hefner VA Medical Center in Salisbury, North Carolina, where she is the proprietor serving on the Community Living Center interdisciplinary team, which focuses on a holistic approach to care for veterans having multiple chronic diseases, including mental health disorders. Over the past 20 years, Ms. Taylor has and continues to be actively involved in several process improvement projects, promoting patient safety and improving quality of care in the clinical research. Ms. Taylor is instrumental in the initiation of the CLC Foot and Nail program within the geriatric service line, and she is our current secretary for the GAPNA board. Thank you everyone so much for coming. I welcome the board to all show their faces so people know I am accompanied by good colleagues. They are here live and ready for your questions, but being that I am moderating, I get the pleasure of starting off the questions. So ladies, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm gonna start with questions, and I would like to say, what advice would you offer those who are running, especially in this virtual world? And I would like to kick it off with Pam, please.
Thank you. So in this virtual world, we have to take full advantage of social media. And so I would make sure that you follow the Facebook page and post on the Facebook page and communicate and talk to all your friends and colleagues who you're interested in having vote for you. Send out an email blast if you can on your own to let them know that you're running. I think that it's really, you will get the assistance of GAPNA to let you pass out your bio and all of that prior to the election, but you'll have to do some of your own campaigning along the way as well. So network within your organizations and your colleagues and friends and within your friends at GAPNA to vote for you.
Thank you so much. Let's play Hollywood Squares, and I'm going to pick Jenny Kim in the top right, please.
Great, thanks so much. I would say that in this virtual space, so much of being on the board, we meet virtually anyway, even prior to COVID. All of our board meetings are virtually, and then some of the committee work that we do, we meet virtually as well. So it's really no different, but I would say if you're considering running for the board, if it's a concern that you don't have the leadership chops, I would say ignore that and go for it. Definitely, if there's a concern more that it's a time issue, then I would say to thoughtfully consider how much time you actually have. And if you do think that you have the time to run for the board, I'd say go for it.
Power of mute. Thank you so much. Natalie.
Hi, so thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. I certainly echo all of the recommendations that both Pam and Jenny shared with you. You definitely would need to at least have some basic knowledge and comfort level with using technology. I by no means am an expert in technology, and we certainly help each other along the way, but definitely at least have a little bit of a comfort level in doing Zoom meetings. Another thing I would recommend is that if you're not already participating in committees or SIGs, they now all are meeting via Zoom. We started that, implemented that earlier this year. So that's another way to get more comfortable with using Zoom if you're not already comfortable with that, and also getting your face out there and that name recognition. Like Pam said, it's important to kind of start your campaigning. So that would be another kind of plug to start joining in if you're not already on some of those monthly calls.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Lansine, some words of wisdom for this virtual world. You're on mute, friend.
Thank you. Because you do not have the opportunity of a face-to-face environment for others to meet you, you must be intentional. By this, I mean, think before you act. Think about what energy you want to convey to others regarding your abilities, accountability, and commitment to the office you're running. And make sure you do have the time. Be engaging. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. I think that was all some great insights. I echo the thoughts around participating in the committees. There's the GAPNA Community Board. That's a great way to advertise yourself as well. And then, yes, state your purpose, state your mission, what you hope to do. And if you don't have any ideas, that's okay. You can still say you want to learn. So I would encourage people to, please run for the board. It's an exciting position to be in. So along those lines, our next question is a little simpler or a little more basic, is why did you each choose to run and participate in the board? What was your motivation? So let's start. Pam, you're in my top left. I'm going to work my way around again.
Great. So I had the opportunity, I was involved with the Greater Philadelphia chapter, and then we were having a meeting, national meeting locally. So I was invited to be part of the program planning committee. And that's where my involvement began, is building relationships with different colleagues through the program planning committee. And I ended up serving as, program planning chair for a couple years prior to being asked to run for president-elect. Now, I want you to know that I lost that first election. So you don't always win when you're running for election. And I was a little defeated by that, I'll be honest, but I did run again and won the second time. And so I was really feeling very lucky to have been engaged with the board. I learned so much, and I hope that I contributed while I was there, and I look forward to seeing who's going to be on the board next time. But it's really, it's been a lot of fun just being engaged. And I call it my kindred spirit organization, because, it's, everybody really loves older adults and really wants to improve their quality of lives. So that's what I'm all about too.
You're in good company. We all love our older adults. Thank you so much, Pam. Lancine, why did you choose to run and participate in the board?
I've always been active in GAPNA, serving on some SIGs or committees, but I was approached by one of the board members and asked to consider running for the position I'm in. I was really impressed because that meant the board was attentive to its membership and fostered GAPNA's mission in developing leaders for the organization. I have always aspired to serve on the board and wasn't going to turn this opportunity down. I believe that the board should reflect the population that it serves, and diversity enhances the organization's effectiveness in carrying out its mission in the care of all older adults. This has been a good experience thus far. Thank you.
Thank you. Jenny Kim.
Thank you. And I have to apologize ahead of time. I have 3 little doggies who are wanting to be on this Facebook Live webinar, so my apologies. I distinctly remember it was an evening, kind of like right now. I live just outside of Nashville. It was stormy, middle of the week, lots going on. And I had gotten a call from somebody on the nominating committee asking me if I would be interested in running for the board. And I really respected this person, but she was really persuasive. I said, but I don't really have any experience being on any kind of board. And she said, but that's okay. You have shown leadership in other areas of GAPNA. You started a local chapter, or I should say state chapter. You've also been on the health affairs committee. So she was just very encouraging. And I'm sorry, my dogs are going crazy. It's my 8-pound multi-poo. So I was really interested, but I just didn't know if I actually had what it took. But it was really that encouragement from a past president, somebody who really believed in me. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go for it. And I decided to run for the board. And I'm really, really happy that I did. It's been a really fulfilling time here, being on the board.
Pet therapy is always welcome. I don't know about you guys, but I took my pets to the nursing home. So the fact that Jenny's smiling with her pets, it's a good example A on why we love pet therapy, and older adults do too. Natalie, can you finish this out by answering the question, why did you choose to run the board, run and participate in the board?
Sure. So I was chair of the education committee. And at the annual conference every year, we always have like a leadership type meeting, typically the night before the conference begins, with all of the chairs of, the committees and SIG. So I was there at that leadership meeting representing the education committee, and someone on the nominating committee who happened to be seated right next to me made the announcement of the upcoming positions that would be available next spring. And she specifically mentioned secretary. And so I started a conversation with her during a break, and she mentioned, you know, a little bit about the secretary position, and she was so encouraging.
Mhm.
And, you know, I said, you know, well, I've never ran for a national office. I've only been a member of GAPNA for, I think, about 5 years at the time. And I said, you know, I don't know that I have the name recognition. And she just was very, very encouraging. And then later she reached out to me again a few months later. You know, I remember you saying you might be interested in this position. You know, have you given it any more thought? And so I thought, you know, well, what the heck? I'll put my name in. I won't get it, but you know, it'll be a great, experience. And so then, a couple of weeks after the election closed, I still truly did not think that I would get it, because I was running against someone, and I thought, well, you know, the other person will get it because they have more name recognition. And I remember someone from the national office calling me and personally congratulating me. And I first thought it was a joke. You know, it was like, oh, I didn't win. But anyway, so, you know, obviously I did, and then was reelected 2 years later to the same position. Although in full disclosure, I think I ran unopposed the second time. And then when I ran for president-elect last year, I ran unopposed too. So that would have been really sad if I had lost that election. But it's just been such a wonderful experience. And I find everyone they're just so encouraging. And we are a family. And, you know, I think, you know, Pam mentioned, I think she referred to the GAPNA people as kind of her kindred spirit people. You know, I refer to my GAPNA family as my peeps, because we all get it. We all have the same interest, and that's taking care of the vulnerable older adults.
Thank you so much for that insight and for sharing your experiences. And Pam, you know, like, you don't always win them, right? It's
Right.
timing. It's timing sometimes, and karma letting you know it's not your time. But I appreciate you sharing that and being honest, because yes, you know, just because you don't win doesn't mean you may not win the next time. And it's a good experience to go through the process, I think, to understand what elections are and what the responsibility is. So I'm going to ask you ladies to dive a little deeper. I asked why you chose to run, but now I want to know, you know, how did you benefit professionally from being on a board, and then also personally? I mean, it is a volunteer service, so I assume that can go on the CV, but there's got to be more to it. So may I start with Natalie? I know we just finished with you, but you're my top left. I'm round robin to keep myself organized.
Sure. So, you know, it is a big sacrifice also. We joke about it, and we have a wonderful time, but it does require, you know, commitment. Several hours a month of commitment of obviously, you know, preparing and then attending the monthly board meetings, and then being a board liaison to different committees and SIGs. But it has really helped me grow professionally. It has helped me with my leadership abilities. I think that it has made me just a better person, more well-rounded. It has created a bigger network of colleagues that I can contact when I'm having issues, or, you know, I need some expertise in a particular area. And it's also, you know, it helped me personally. I feel more confident. I feel like that that I'm being, you know, rewarded for things that I enjoy doing. So I never look at the GAPNA service as a job, or as, oh my gosh, I've got another committee I have to attend tonight, or, you know, I've got this I have to do for GAPNA. It's always a pleasure to represent GAPNA and to do any and every board activity that we do. So I think it's helped me both professionally and personally.
Thank you so much. Jenny Kim, if you would please share with us how you benefited professionally and personally from being on the board.
Sure. I don't know if there's much that I can add to what Natalie said. So much of what she said resonated with me. When I think about professionally, I have just met so many incredible people, not only within GAPNA, but other organizations. And the great thing is that we're all very like-minded. We all have that same goal of improving healthcare for older adults. And early on in my time in my current position at Vanderbilt, I was an N of one. I was the only one at the School of Nursing that was focused on older adults. And it was a really tough time because it was, I really didn't have connection with other people that had my same love and my same passion. So it's so fun to be in GAPNA where everybody has that same love and that same passion. We all have different strengths and we all have different areas where we don't feel quite as strong. So, and I should actually mention that at Vanderbilt now we have this great network of geriatric expertise. But I feel like I have just really connected and kind of like what Natalie said, I feel like my leadership skills have really been sharpened as well. I've developed them and now they're continuing to develop. When I think about personally, I think about all of the people that I've served with. They've all been ladies on the board. And it's just been such a pleasure getting to know them and their families. And it's, you really do develop that great relationship with them. And, you know, it, like Natalie said, it really is a time commitment. We have the commitment of visiting with folks or having board meetings every month, and those are approximately an hour and a half. And then of course you have your other commitments as a board liaison, which is another couple of hours per month. And then on top of that, you know, other duties as assigned. So it is a time commitment, but it's not that it's doable. And kind of along the same lines as what Natalie said, it's what I really enjoy. This is my passion. And it's so fun to see the outcome of so many things that you work hard on, that it's really rewarding.
Thank you. Lancine, if you could share your insight.
Sure. My 6 months serving on the board has been very educational. It has given me a better perspective on how GAPNA is involved with other organizations, how it functions and operates. And it definitely has developed my leadership skills in terms of serving in the role as secretary and meeting different professionals and colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. And to finish us out, our previous chief from 2015, Pam.
Was it really that long ago? Oh my gosh, it goes by so fast.
Yeah, it was just a few years ago. It's no big deal.
Oh my word. Yeah. So I, having had this leadership of a national organization really impacted my ability to apply for other leadership positions and get involved in other organizations, particularly the Academy of Nursing and becoming the chair of their special interest group on aging, so expert panel on aging, as well as just developing the networking and the relationships and friendships from this organization has greatly influenced my career and my life overall. And I just cherish that time that I had in that leadership position with GAPNA. It was a great group. We were not all ladies at that time, which was kind of fun. And so it was good to engage with different colleagues across the country. And I learned so much and developed some really nice friendships.
Thank you. I do want to ask a quick off the cuff question, because if a couple of you have referenced like this board liaison, maybe could we dive in? I'll ask Natalie as our president-elect maybe to explain that so people understand what that time commitment is. There's been reference to the monthly meeting that's about 90 minutes, but what additional as a board member is that liaison position and how does that function?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question, Vicki. Thank you. And so every committee and SIG that GAPNA has, they all have regular meetings. So each committee and SIG is assigned to a board member who serves as their board liaison. So the president always makes those assignments so that each board member has roughly 3 different committees or SIGs that they are kind of, quote, responsible for. So then we would then attend those meetings, however often they meet. Most of them meet once a month. Some of the committees, like the awards committee, they only meet during the period, of time when they are, reviewing award nominations and doing scoring for that. But most of the committees and SIGs meet once a month. So that would mean then that if I'm assigned 3 committees and or SIGs total to be their board liaison, I would attend all 3 of their meetings each month. So that I could attend their meetings, make them aware of anything that's going on currently with the board. And also if they have any concerns or questions to the board, then I can relay that back to the board on their behalf and then report back to them. So we're there to kind of be that connection with the board so that they don't feel like that they're just kind of working in silos, and we're there as board members to support them.
That sounds great. It makes you feel connected directly to your leadership. That's awesome. Thank you. I know I went a little off cuff there, but I wanted to make sure people understood that time commitment piece. But I would reiterate, I would guess the rest of the panel would as well, that the time commitment flies by because it's fun, it's interactive, and I would think you learn a lot. So back to our questions. I do have, so if I've been a nurse practitioner for only a couple of years, should I wait to run? What do you guys think? I'm going to start with Pam first, please.
Hi. So I think that it would be important for you to have been involved in either a SIG or a committee first. So getting involved with one of those initially, if you're a new member, is very beneficial to setting yourself up to understand how things run and be able to communicate well with others as far as leadership opportunities, and then probably starting with either the nominating committee or a treasurer or secretary. I wouldn't jump in and run for president-elect. Let's just put it that way. But I think that there are great opportunities within your local chapter and then within the large committees and then moving up through the ranks. And so it's really a great opportunity to start building your network early from committees and SIGs.
Thanks, Pam. Natalie, do you want to add anything to that?
Sure, and I totally agree with Pam. It's best that you get your feet wet, at the local level and also, national level in committees and SIGs. And I think some of that decision too would be, what has been your past leadership experience? I mean, you might be a fairly new advanced practice nurse, but you may have been an RN with gerontological experience for 30 years, and you served in a leadership capacity within your institution. So I think some of that plays into it as well. But if you're a new advanced practice nurse and fairly new still in nursing, then definitely take those baby steps and gradually work up to a board position.
Let me unmute myself. Thank you, Natalie. So, oh, no, I'm not. It keeps telling me I'm muted, but I'm not. Sorry. Lancine, as someone in one of those positions that they just recommended, if you're new, what are your thoughts?
In addition to what Pam and Natalie has said, I would recommend that you ask yourself the question, do I have the time and commitment? Think about what is going on in your life at the time. And then once you get past the staff evaluation, put aside any fears or doubts that you may have. I think growth never occurs if you do not try. If you run and don't win the first time, that's okay. The most important thing is the process that is very educational and the people that you meet along the way, and you grow from that experience.
Thanks, Lancine. Jenny, anything to add?
Yeah, I guess I would add that, as nurses, I think oftentimes we have imposter syndrome and we don't realize what gifts that we have and what leadership we truly have. And I totally agree with what the others have said about taking baby steps. If you have found that you've been an APRN for a couple of years and you have served on a SIG or committee and you're really ready for that next step, I'd say go for it. Definitely make sure that you have that time available. But I'll tell you, a lot of times what we tell ourselves is that we don't have the time. When we really do, I think it's that we're just really are suffering from that imposter syndrome. So, but if you haven't served on a committee or a SIG, definitely do that. It's a great opportunity and to understand, start to have that great understanding of what GAPNA does and how it works. But I think another thing to do too is rather than kind of evaluate yourself, ask somebody that you know and that you trust, or even ask a board member and come to us and ask us what we think. If we think that you're ready, that would be a great sounding board for you.
Thanks, Jenny. So we had a couple of questions come in, and so I'm going to read the first one, which I think is a great one, because I would like to know as well, what accomplishment while you've been on the GAPNA board are you most proud of? So Pam, let's start with you.
So I have a couple. The one is during my tenure, we started the pharmacology conference, and I'm really excited about that conference. I think it does well, serves the GAPNA organization well. And then also the gerontological nurse specialist exam. A lot of the work that was done on that was during my tenure as president-elect, president, and past president. So I feel really strongly about our work there. So I'm really proud of that. It was very rewarding being on the board. So during that time.
Thank you, Pam. And our current president-elect, because you did serve as secretary. So what are you most proud of so far as you continue your time on the board?
That's a tough question. It's a great question. I think one would be is that for the gerontological specialist certification exam, I was asked to be an item writer, and I, was highly honored to be considered an expert in the area of long-term care. And I know that Kim Posey, the chair of the nominating committee, she and I worked together on some of those questions, and I think there may be others here on the call as well who may have been item writers, but I think that is one. And another one I would say is that I was asked to represent GAPNA on monthly LACE calls, and people outside of academia really probably don't understand what LACE is, and they're probably like, you went to a sewing class, what is that? But it's a licensure, certification, accreditation, and education APRN network that was developed in response to the 2008 consensus model, which, as most of you know, realigned almost all of the nurse practitioner certifications. And the reason why we no longer have just gerontology nurse practitioner, it's now merged with adult. But out of that grew the need for experts within those areas to meet monthly and serve as kind of a communication arm of the consensus model. And GAPNA is part of that organization. And I have served as one of GAPNA's representatives since 2015. And so it's been an honor to be asked to continue to serve year after year. So that's another thing that, that I'm really proud of and that I've really enjoyed.
Thank you, Natalie. Jenny, what are you most proud of so far?
This past year, GAPNA has had 2 virtual conferences. And the board was part of the decision to really go virtual with those conferences. And I think the conferences have gone really, really well, and they've been received really well. I just am really proud to be part of an organization that made it a priority to continue to educate our members and to continue to provide continuing education, and to do it through the platform that we used. I personally have gone to both of those conferences, and they were just really well run. And really, for me, stepping out of my comfort zone, it was really the first time I'd ever really been involved with planning a virtual conference and attending a virtual conference. It went really well. So I was really proud of GAPNA, and so happy to be a part of that.
Thanks, Jenny. And you got a shout out from one of the attendees saying, echo the excellence of the conference 2020. So, and I second that as well. I thought that was a fantastic conference and really engaging. And I actually felt like I got to connect with people, even if it was virtually. I agree. It was a great platform used. Lancine, what are you most proud of?
I'm proud to be serving on the GAPNA board. I'm also proud to be a participant in some of the policies and position statements, recommendations that they are involved in the care of our older adults and networking with other organizations. That is my first time. Thank you.
Thanks, Lancine. I want to do a quick check with our colleagues that are monitoring Facebook for any chats, because I don't have access to those. So I just want to do a quick check. Otherwise, we do have a couple other questions here through Zoom, but a quick pause. Any questions through Facebook?
Facebook, the energy is fabulous. All of the attendees on Facebook are saying how much they love the webinar, how exciting it is to see all of these past board members, and they've been fabulous mentors to them. Just a lot of great energy, and they're saying thank you so much for speaking out about your experiences with the board, and it's just creating a lot of great energy. And I think going back to that mentorship, I know many of y'all have developed into mentors from this experience. Maybe some of y'all could talk about how it's developed you into from a mentee to a mentor.
Oh, thanks, Kim. So that wonderful voice that you heard is the chair of the nominating committee right now. I don't think you were able to see her lovely face, but she's amazing to work with. So yes, I will start the rounds with Lancine again. How did you transition from the mentee to mentor? How has GAPNA helped you with that?
GAPNA has, I serve on the board that's very supportive, and I can call on any board member for any suggestions or recommendations, and they're willing to help mentor me, anything. So that's why I like, it's like we're professional family. So
I think you summed it up well. It's like being a family, and having that support from your family is crucial, and your professional family, we'll call it. Jenny, can I ask you about going from mentee to mentor and how GAPNA supported that role, that transition?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I still have mentors myself, or people that I seek for getting advice, leadership, et cetera, but also transitioned into providing a lot of mentorship. I have been able to do that through my work with the GAPNA's Leadership Institute, where I have been able to mentor a couple of fellows. And also, I think I'd really transitioned to that before. It wasn't really intentional intentional, but being in this position where I got to work with a lot of really great leaders and great leaders within just the gerontological advanced practice nursing space, I found a lot of people were coming to me with questions and really kind of naturally into that role of being able to mentor them, whether it's they're searching for their own leadership opportunities or just even mentoring them within that role of being a gerontological nurse practitioner, whether it be in long-term care or outpatient services or whatnot. But I think that's a great thing about being on the board, is that you get to really experience both of those, being a mentor as well as being able to be mentored yourself.
Thank you, Jenny. Now on to our presidents, Natalie. The transition to from mentee to mentor, how has GAPNA helped you with that?
Yeah, it's almost like it's a natural kind of transition, and you don't really realize that it's happening until you get that email or that call from someone who says, hey, I found you on, the GAPNA webpage, and I know you're on the board, and, can I talk to you about this? And, a lot of that occurs. And also, I think we as board members, when we're serving in the role as board liaison on these committees and SIGs, and also representing GAPNA, other meetings, that we find ourselves, seeking out future leaders for GAPNA. And we help the chairs or the new chair elects for committees and SIGs, and we kind of, bring them under our wing and we help them. And so we're mentoring them, as new board members rotate onto the board, the ones who've already served on the board for, 2 or 3 years. We tend to, then try to help them along and mentor them, because we want everyone to be successful. If the members are successful, GAPNA is successful, and our patient care improves. So I think that it's kind of just a natural progression, but also, as Jeannie said, even though then we find ourselves being mentors to people, we continue to be mentored by others. And that's another part, I think, of being a leader and being a successful mentor, is always recognizing the need to continue to improve ourselves as well.
So Natalie, putting you on the spot, did I just hear you say that anyone listening in, if they want to email a board member with personal questions about running, they might be allowed to?
Certainly, we would welcome those questions. You may want to start with the nominating committee. They may have more information, but if you had a question about a specific role, we absolutely would be happy to answer those questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Natalie. I appreciate you letting me put you on the spot like that. Pam, any thoughts or words of wisdom about becoming a mentor through GAPNA?
So I think I love the comments so far. I totally agree with all of them. One of the things that I want people to realize when they're on the board is that people are watching. You are representing the organization, and you want to do a nice job, and you want to be a good representative of the organization, and they learn just by watching too. So it's important. You don't realize that you're mentoring just by your actions in a lot of ways. So we have a responsibility in that way. And then it's really fun when you see some of your mentees or your former students becoming like president of GAPNA. Sherry Greenberg was one of my doctoral students, so that was kind of exciting to see. And so things like that happen, and it's very rewarding. So you really enjoy seeing your mentees succeed. It's just a gift in life to see people succeed that you've helped along the way, whether it was in big part or in small part. It's just joyful. So keep that in mind. It's just an added professional perk.
Thank you. And I appreciate all your insight, because we all want to support each other and grow and learn from each other. That's how we move the profession forward. So I'm getting word, right? I can pretend like I have an earpiece, like we're doing something super high tech with my earpiece, like they do on Good Morning America, that no further questions have come in. So I do want to pose one last final question as we wrap up. And again, I want to say my huge thanks to the panel for coming and spending a little time with us this evening to let us know what it's like to be on the board, give us a glimpse of the amazingness. So my final question to everyone, and I'll go round robin again, would be, what words of wisdom or final parting thoughts do you want to leave that might just help that person that's still on the fence to just push over to go ahead and run for something? Natalie.
So, as one of the past presidents of GAPNA recently said to me, if you wait until you think you're ready, you've already passed the time. So I would say if you've done some soul searching, if you've reached out, maybe asked some others, and you are receiving that affirmative feedback, then go for it. There's never going to be that perfect time or that time when you just feel like, aha, all the stars are aligned and I know this is my time. So, go for it. And like Pam said, and she was very transparent, you might not win the very first time, but that doesn't mean that you're not ready. That just means that whoever ran against you that time got more votes. So I would encourage you that if you're sitting on the fence, just go ahead and submit your packet, and let's see you on the ballot for our upcoming year.
Thanks, Natalie. And if anything, that's a way to get your name out, right? It's going to be on a national ballot, even if you don't win that first time.
You're right. That's right.
Thank you so much. Jenny, any final words of wisdom or parting thoughts to encourage people to come on board?
Yeah, one thing, I'm sorry, my dogs again are barking, things that I can't control. I would say that to remember that when we work as a board, very little you do by yourself. It's really a group effort. So if you are concerned that you're going to have too much on your plate that you would have to do alone, remember, it's things that we do together. And it's a very supportive, collegial type of environment.
Thanks, Jenny. Lancine, any final words of wisdom?
Just step out and do it. Don't be afraid. If someone asks you to consider a position, just take advantage of the opportunity, because it's the opportunity to expand your possibilities and make it a reality, and you grow from that. Don't be afraid. Thank you.
Thanks, Lancine. And our final words from our most tenured Pam.
Thank you for not saying our oldest.
Our sage, this is going to be the most sage advice right here.
One of the things that you've heard several people say is that another board member asked them, you are here tonight, we are asking you to run. Okay, so you have now been personally asked. If you don't feel like that the nominating committee secretary or treasurer is appropriate for you, think about joining a committee or a SIG and get your feet wet, get to know people, get involved, and then step up next time. But we are asking you, this is why we do the webinar. We want people to know that we want you to run. We want to expand our horizons and our reach to let people know that this is a very exciting opportunity in it for personal and professional growth. So just do it.
I like it. End with Nike. Just do it. I can invite all the panelists to put yourself on camera one last time. I just want to formally say thank you so much for spending your evening with us and giving us some insight. I'm motivated to consider, but oh wait, I'm on the nominating committee. I can't.
Next time.
Next time. But no, seriously, it's been lovely. I really hope this motivates some people to want to run for the board. I do think it's an amazing group to be a part of. There's a lot you can learn. There's a lot you can offer. You'd be surprised. And lastly, I want to thank my colleagues on the nominating committee, Kim Posey and Kayla Blakely. Thank you so much for helping us all brainstorm and put this together. And we wish everyone a wonderful good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.